Now what we'll do is add in also an actuator that we can control. If we click another new, digitals, control, and I will call this 4, and let's find what it is here. We want to control the conveyor. I will start with that. I believe they named it here the belt motors. So we know it's 4M3. Now we'll use this one. This is the manual button for actuating, turning on the conveyor. Manual 4M3. Copy. Back over here. So we know it's a 4M3. I'll say conveyor. Under I/O. This is also a control, so we'll jump in again. Control V. That's all we need for that. For the manual control of the conveyor. Alright, so now we have enough tags to create a graphic that will put the station into manual mode so that you can turn on the conveyor. If we hit close here, we'll be in this screen here. If you click Idea Studio, it'll pull up that display and we can actually add changes here. So I'll go ahead and put change the text to the following. Station manual control. This page will be for. Next we'll just get rid of all this. Delete. And we'll just get rid of that too. Alright, so what we can do is go ahead and add push buttons and switches to the display for the stop button or the manual button. I found a convenient way of doing this is clicking this plus, and we'll create a widget, a standard widget. We'll give it a name, and I'll name it the manual mode We'll just call it the manual mode widget. So now pull up a blank screen here, and I can add in these buttons, and you'll see here in a second why this is convenient. Instead of just dragging into the previous page, I'll start with an indicator. Clicking home will get you back to this home directory. Under indicators, we'll want to indicate if the station's in manual mode. So I'll drag this over and pull it to the very corner. I'll make this a little bit bigger. Alright. Then I'll add in 2 push buttons. So for control, we found that if you go into buttons and switches, scroll down here to basic controls, momentary button. This is the momentary button that will allow control of one of the tags. We're still trying to figure out to use using these buttons to look a bit nicer, but we're having some issues actually controlling things with them. So for now, we're just using the momentary button. And we'll drag that into there, and then I'll do a Control C, Control V, copy and paste. We'll add that button there. So now we'll have a button, stop button, and then a manual button, manual start button. And in the background, we'll indicate if the station's in manual or not. So I will double click, and it selected the background. So this is the indicator. This is the indicator properties, and what we want to do is link the status. For some reason, you see here the arrow, my pointer won't allow me to click anything. If I click over here and click back in, everything comes back to normal. So if you run into that, so we'll click the browsing for tags. We'll go and find the manual mode tag, and there it is there. And we'll see how it's highlighted here. And I'll click select. So now the manual mode is selected. Click OK. And then we want to, so we got the momentary button properties. We want to browse. We'll use, this one will be the stop button. Select. And then we want to give it a value to write when button is pressed. We'll give it a 1. When you release, you give it a 0. And then the button down label and the button up label, we'll just call it stop. Stop. Okay. We'll do the same thing for the other button. This will be the manual start button though. Drop these. Manual start. And we'll give it a value to write, a 1, a 0, and we'll call this manual. Manual mode. Alright, so we have our tag, values to write in our label. Click OK. Alright, so now we have our indicator linked. We have our stop button linked to that tag. And then we have the manual mode button linked to the manual mode tag. I'm going to make this a little bigger. Alright. And you can come back and edit this widget later on. So now what we can do, if we're finished with this widget, we'll double click on the additional tab that had that widget there, and then you can see up here recent items. We can pull and drag this over as a single unit. So now you can see we can't actually choose. Oh, there it goes again. The individual buttons, this is a single widget now for these start and stop buttons. So now what we can do is actually test it. We can drag it over and click this deploy local changes, and we can show operator view. And we can hit stop, manual mode. You can see that the buttons are working. And if you see the question mark there, you just want to right click questionable data, get rid of it. Questionable data, just uncheck the questionable data, and those question marks will go away. I actually have to turn the PLC on. Just give it a second here to boot up and connect to the network. Once it's connected, I should be able to control the station. Alright, so we saw a green light come on. That must indicate that the station is in manual. I hit stop here. Well, it's not ready yet. There it goes. So the PLC is booted up. If I hit manual, green light comes on indicating that we're in manual mode. And if we hit stop, indicator goes away, and then we know that the station's not manual mode anymore.